Good morning.
Good morning.
Um, Today is 13th November 2019. We are going uh, to discuss about the race and myth. We are going to discuss about myths that many people uses to have on race,
Yes.
and of course that we have too. And then that is under the goal called confront culture in myth and race and myth project. So here I'm Robin Chimimana and I'm with my friend.
Irumva Goa.
Okay, well, uh, I welcome you in
Thank
this
you, Robert.
discussion. Okay, well,
Mm,
uh, this project is really not very much easy,
yes.
and it is not also very difficult, but it is very interesting. That's what I found out
Of
when I
course.
was trying to dig into to go deep into materials. I found that there are many things to keep digging into, but I was feeling like this is very interesting topic. I need to keep learning. Apart from the project materials, I also used to do some more research from the internet to find the supporting evidences that can
Yes.
support what I was reading. So I think it is gonna be a very interesting discussion. What do you think?
Yes, it is. It's gonna be a very interesting topic. So, as you've told me, you've been skimming through different materials, reading through internet. So, I think that you've read different things about race or racism.
Yeah.
So, I will try to ask you what you understand by race.
Thank you for a
Yes.
good question. Uh, I found out that race had many different definitions, like
Yes.
many people say race in different ways according to how they understand. But
Mm,
the most thing that all commonly talk about is that race is
yeah.
like the uh, difference in human species. For example, when they talk about race, they mostly talk about the uh, physical appearance, that things that
Mm,
can be seen physically. For example, we talk about the skin, we talk about the hairstyle, we talk about the eye
mm,
blink. All these things can be used to describe the
yes.
race. So when you just see a group of people that maybe have this kind of hair, a group of people that have this kind of skin, they just
Mm,
and they are different from the other group that have a
yes.
certain kind of skin. That's what we call race.
Well, thank you, Robin.
Welcome.
I'm now far away from you. I understand race as the grouping of humans basing on their physical, social qualities.
Yeah.
But I've read somewhere that in the 17th century, this term came to be referred to as the grouping of humans basing on their physical traits. As you've said, the eyes, the hair, those physical traits.
Mm.
So, don't you have anything to ask him?
Uh, I was wondering, what do you think about physical traits? Cause
Yeah.
do we? Okay, that question will be now quite uh, proper. But what do you mean by physical traits?
I mean, those traits or those uh, things that you can look at and say, this is a Chinese, this is a British. Uh, what do you understand about it?
Okay, I got you. Like when you say physical traits, you mean like something that can be seen physically
Yes.
for a person to be different from another one.
Mhm.
Okay, well, um, so what kind of myth have you had about the race?
Um, as I've been reading different articles, different writings, I've read the writer called Caroline Heiser, who wrote about 10 big or 10 myths that people normally have about race. So I've mainly emphasized or kept reading about the two biggest myths that people have about race. The first one is race or racism is not our problem. That's the myth, because most Americans say that racism is not their problem, while it is, because you cannot say racism is not your problem because you consider yourself not being racist, but it is, because we even Americans. America is a country composed by different nationalities, different people. So I can say that there is a myth, because we are totally different. Though God created us equal, but we are different depending on the physical traits.
Okay, you said that many people say that racism is not our problem, but I'm wondering, how does racism become a problem? Instead, before saying whether mentioning whether it is our problem or not, how does racism become a problem?
Um, I don't want to mean that it is not a problem, but I want to say that we cannot deny it. There is difference, so we have to accept that there is difference between us, though it cannot be the reason to separate us. But we have to accept that we are different.
Okay, you're giving me like you're telling me that we have to accept our race, but I get it. But how does race become a problem? I think maybe when whites and blacks used to have conflicts, is that a problem you want to mean?
Now come again.
I was saying between like sometimes blacks and whites they used to have conflict.
Yes.
Is that the problem you want to mean about racism?
Of course.
When they get into killing.
They say that racism is not our problem, because they want to show themselves that they are not racist, but it is a problem, because whenever we say that racism is not our problem, and we are always hearing black men or even white people being killed by black people, and even white killing black men.
Okay.
So I can say there is racism, or there is difference that separate us, which sometimes bring us into a conflict that lead to death.
So how does that become not our problem? Because I think it become the problem when we start killing our neighbors, like whites killing blacks, blacks killing whites. That is that I think that is where it seemed to become a problem, and that is our problem, because we are the one like creating racism and start killing, like we start doing showing the behaviors that are not really right and unethical. You know, killing is unethical.
Yes.
Especially when you kill someone that you are not having a very serious conflict. You just want to kill him because he is white or black.
So let me cut you short. For you, what do you accept that there is difference?
Yeah, I do accept that there is difference. Whites exist, blacks exist, but
Yes.
racism become a problem because we start like this bad behaviors of killing. You see, like when a black kills a white, when a white kills a black, that is now becoming a problem, and it is a problem that we are bringing. If I kill a certain white, or a certain white kills a black, that is a problem.
There is a problem.
So how is racism not our problem?
That's what I asked myself after reading about the article. They said that they have a myth that racism is not our problem. They were confirming it, that racism is not our problem, while it is.
Okay, I get you now. Racism is our
A
problem.
problem, of course.
So how can we solve the problem that we are causing?
We have to. We are not going to create ourselves to be to look similar, but we can understand that there is difference, but try to bring those differences together in order to prevent them becoming the reasons for us to develop hatred, to develop murdering. So we have to accept that we are different, but we have to remember that we were created equal and we are all humans. Though we have different skin colors, different eyes colors, but we are all humans.
Oh, I get you. So you mean that we don't have to adopt or to inherit these violent behaviors
Yeah.
to our neighbors because they are white or because they are black? Okay, you mean like we need to accept our race?
Yes.
And okay, there's supplementing on what you're saying because I get the point that you're mentioning now. There's you know Bob Marley said we are one people but in different color. You see, this is Lacoste, and this is your Lacoste. They are
Yes.
all Lacoste, but they are in
Yeah.
different color. Yours is
It's a
green.
Holocaust, but
Yeah, yours is green, but mine is yellow.
Yeah, I got
So
you.
that's what we need to understand. We don't need to enter into conflict. We are all humans, but in different colors. That this color should not be the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I get
And
you.
we don't have to always showing ourselves denying that that there is a racism or there is difference.
So
Image.
we have to accept the racism,
Yes.
that racism really exists and it is
Yeah.
our problem, but try to find out the solutions for that.
Yeah.
And the solution we mentioned here is, I think you're the one who mentioned it. We need to accept our race, but we need to know that we are one people, but in different colors, so that this difference of colors cannot create the racism.
Yeah, read our differences show us or teach us that the God, our God who creates us, is very wise. Huh? We are all humans, but in different colors. It don't. It doesn't have to be the reason for us to fight into conflicts, but let us become brother, develop love and peace.
So what do you think? I was wondering in the slavery times, you see, whites used to colonize blacks.
Yes.
So what do you think they chose to colonize blacks instead of themselves do their stuffs alone?
They colonized the blacks because there was that mindset that blacks are the inferior race, while they consider themselves to be superior. So, considering yourself to be superior over someone else, get you feel that you are powerful than him or her, feel that you have all might over him or her. So that's why they colonized the blacks, but now they are changing their mind. They are understanding that we are all humans. We can all do similar things. We are all we have all we all have power. We all have to respect each other.
So on the myth that you had that racism is not our problem, now you got to understand very well and found the solution that we need to accept our races, but keep in mind that we are one person.
Yes, of course.
Well, would you like to know about the myth I had of race?
What was it?
I used to think that a race is based on biological, is based on biology. I think you get it. Maybe we say that because this one is white, this one is black, because this one has this kind of hairstyle, and he was created with that. We would say that That is a big that what makes a racism. And I used to confuse racism with ethnic, because I was bringing culture in the racism problem. Maybe say whites they have their own culture, but I didn't keep in mind that whites they also have different cultures. You can find Americans are white, some Americans are white, but they have their own culture. When you go in Latin, you can find whites, but they also have the different culture. If you come in blacks, we Rwandans have our own culture. If you go to Uganda, they have their own culture. So I came to realize that there is race is mostly based on social factors, not biological factors. Um, so what do you think about that?
I too had a myth, but now I accept that race is not just it doesn't come out of biological, but also there is a racism basing on the even school segregation, different in paying, housing separations, those social differences. You are rich, I'm a poor. So those, when they combine together, they create racism. You can you can develop racism against someone who studies in such a fancy school. Yeah.
Okay, well, I was saying before digging into this topic, I was thinking that maybe racism is, but it was quite difficult for me to understand that racism is not biological, but I found that it is more social than being biological, because
Yes.
I found a wife called Rachel. He was she was right in nature, but she was claiming to become black. So what made me accept that racism is more social than biological is what we call translation. Like a person can choose to change his race
Yes.
depending on his own, as people used to change, like they prefer to change their sex. You know what we call transsexual.
Yes.
The President Barack Obama said, "Your sex is not your identity. Like your sex is what you want to maybe to be.
Yes.
If you say I'm woman, you would be woman. If you say I'm a man, like you feel to become a man. You are a man. So that's what I came to realize. Because something that made me accept that race is more biological is not more biological is how would you tell me that Barack Obama, the former president of USA, he was part a black and part a white, but he was being called black. So how come? Biologically, he was supposed to be white and the black at the same time, but they used to call him black. So you know that is the racism we have created in our mind and say Barack Obama is black. How can you say that Brazilian they have racamel skin? Their skin look like a mirror. Racamel is a medium between dark and orange, but we used to call Brazilian whites, and biologically when you look at their skin, it would be quite different. So that's made me realize that race should be more social than being biological.
So thank you, Robin. Thank you for having read about race. Thank you because I've learned different things from you. So I would like to thank you and end this conversation here.
But let me hope you understood what that
Yeah.
race is more biological, it is not more biological but more social
Yeah.
social race.
Yes, I accept. Yeah.
because biological race does never exist in human species.
Yes.
So if you have understood, but what I would like to add on is to say, we don't have to think that race is biological, because when we go to think that race is biological, we would be again causing that problem you said about before. So we need to, as you say, respect the races that we have, and again, keep focusing on humanity more than race,
Yes.
because that's what creates racism. So thank you very much for having conversation with me.
Thank you.
I enjoyed
Yeah.
conversating with you. Thank